One of the things that was really striking to me today was it had been a while since I'd run anything on the Google Deep Research.
Yep.
Have you run anything on that recently?
I don't think I've ever used the Google Deep Research. I've used ChatGPT one many times, not that much lately. You know why I haven't done it lately is because 3.5, because it takes so long and
Right,
and it's
right.
so long, like you've got a lot to read, which is helpful in some cases. But O3 Pro takes not as long and it doesn't take you as long to read it as well. So I usually have just been defaulting to that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I ran I ran a query that was basically looking at a bunch of APIs to do a certain thing, and um, I gave it to that. And normally, it would come back with like 30. It
Mm.
came back with 317, and I was like,
References.
wow, that is that's an order of magnitude more than I've seen before. And I was thinking like when you were talking about this, it's like, what if you wanted 3 million of something? That the ability to spin up, 1,000 of these, and have them all, running all over the world, kind of scanning whatever it is you're looking for. That's going to be a thing. I absolutely believe that.
Yeah. Well, it's the agentic workflow, right? Like, so as soon as something can go agentic, that is the exponential gains that everyone's expecting from AI because you can multiply it. You can
Yeah.
multiply it, you know? There just hasn't been any productivity gains from using ChatGPT and Gemini and all that because it's just one question, one answer. It's just you're talking to you. It's just like talking to one person. But yeah, I mean, that has been the big, like since we last chatted, that has just been the biggest light bulb moment as I finally saw what it looked like. And that is it is the big thing. It is the next big thing. Like and
I mean, it's kind of funny if you think about it, that we're already kind of discounting the, 30, 40%, productivity increase that's possible, with just the, talking with the box. And, that's still, if you think about it historically, like to say
yeah,
there's something you can do that's not that hard to do or learn and doesn't cost that much, that could result in a 30% increase in your productivity is incredible. I mean, it was probably the Industrial Revolution since that happened last.
yeah.
And yet at the same time, like we're now saying that looks paltry.
I
And
truly
I
think it
think
does.
we're not wrong.
I don't think so. I mean, I'm I am building as fast as four people, a team of four built historically. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
um and like I know how much time it took and how much it cost to build Enterprise DNA's platform. I mean, I've spent like 300 grand building that. I think I built something equivalent to myself in the last 10 days that is as highly technical as that. Like that I mean, that's just insane. It's absolutely insane.
It
Um,
was a really good development team. I mean, it was like
they
stuff would
still they're
come out
still
and we'd
with
be
us.
like,
They're
wow,
still
this
with
is
me.
really, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're still with me. We're still working together, and you know, they're all using AI now too. And now instead of building one thing, we're building like five things now.
Yeah.
Because we can, we absolutely can. I'm tempted to show you like what I've actually built. I don't know. I don't know if this is the right format for it, but like one of the things that I've built lately is just insane, like insane to me, totally insane. I've created my own. It's kind of like a marketing automation type thing. But it's not just creating posts for you. It's like a library, like a way to create a whole library of all of your ideas and all of your notes and all of the
Oh,
key
makes sense.
insights that you've got. Like it's a way to bring together every idea that you come across or that you have, but and then log that, but then be able to turn it into high quality content post that point, and then you can sort of adjust it along the way. Human in the loop is still absolutely key, but yeah, I mean it's insane. I'm tempted to show. I
Yeah,
mean, do you want to have a look?
yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, let's just do it. I know this is a call, but let me just do a quick showcase here. So what's it called? It's called Content Lead. So we're going to release it very, very soon. Um, And so I've been doing it with my brother. So my brother historically worked in marketing at Coca-Cola, and so knows inside and out how these firms actually work, and um, and how you from start to finish how you create a piece of content within these firms. Because within any organization, you don't just create a piece of content. You have like branding, you have different wording that you use, different styles that you use, and all this kind of stuff. And so that's why and the person who sort of runs this is called content lead, a content lead. Like this is the title that they have. And so what we're trying to do is we're kind of trying to replicate that at scale. So not only will you just do it for one brand, but you could ultimately do it for multiple brands. Um, and so what you do is you set up brands. So you set up brands in the way that you want to. So we have a lot of apps, right? So we've got like Enterprise DNA, we've got No Code, we've got a few other different apps with different social media accounts and stuff. And so what we have here is we have very detailed outline of how, like, of the brand and how we want the brand and messaging to be. So what's our vision? What's our target audience? What's our brand voice? What are the key messages that we want to add to it? Um, and so you set that up here. And then what you do inside of here when you create a piece of content is you choose the brand. Okay. So say, for instance, I'm creating a brand, some content for Enterprise DNA. I select Enterprise DNA. And that context of the brand sits above every piece of content that we create from here on out. So all the styling, all the wording, all the positioning, all that is automatically baked into every single content generation we do. So you don't have to.
Kind of like a persona.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is how you would do it within a large organization, is that you would always try and be on brand for your messaging, right? But obviously we're trying to do things at a little bit more scale here. So that's just one part of it. And by the way,
That's
this is
neat.
this is what I've been building with Claude Code. Like all this is me. This is all me. No one else has touched this other than me. Um, and so what you can also do here is we have this, I created this playground area. So you have the ability to log notes on anything. Um, so you can create notes manually by talking, or I have the ability to add audio. You just speak into the box and it will add your ideas. You can upload audio, you can get YouTube transcripts, upload documents, upload a website, and get all the download of the website.
It just scrapes the whole site.
It scrapes a page. So, for example, I'll just grab this one here. So you just go like this. It will just extract all the details from that page. So it's just a way to collate all of your ideas really, really quickly. And so then you save it all into your note area. So that's just the content. And then you come to your notes and you'll see here that these are all of the things I've been collecting over the last few days, like all the articles I like, this was one that I had, which was just me talking, which was just an idea that I had about Claude Code and AI agents orchestration. And you just log it into your library here. And you and through AI, we create tags. We can also, extract topics like this. So it's kind of
You know,
like a
I'm
marketing
watching this,
orchestrator.
and it's kind of like in some respects, it's the it's the complete flip side of what I do with Obsidian. That Obsidian, I take all my content that I create, put it
Yep.
in there, and then use the mechanism to make connections in the search and kind of
Mhm.
have control over what I've already generated. This is almost the reverse, where you're kind of setting up those connections and filters, and then it's creating content from those.
Yeah, yeah. We can do the reverse too. I just haven't built that in, but we track
Right,
every.
right. I mean, that'd be, I think, a lot easier than what you've done here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think going in
So
this direction is a lot harder.
yeah, and then so this comes up with, like, just gives you a whole lot of ideas. It's kind of like it's exactly the what we do what we've been talking about basically is it's not totally agentic just yet, but it just gives you a whole lot of ideas, very, very, very quickly on all the notes that you're collecting. So kind of it's just like it's just like your mind, but it's just it's duplicating it. It's multiplying how you would ordinarily come up with content. So okay, so that's sort of the way
That's
to,
neat.
yeah,
It
and then
looks
we
great
have.
too. I mean, it's like I'm amazed that, it's like kind of knowing. knowing you when you didn't know how to do any of this, and now seeing what you're doing is just
Oh, I know.
incredible.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. And so I have an image generator here as well. So you have all these prompts. You can save prompts as well. So we've got like a prompt library. You can create any type of image, AI image you want, and you can
What
save.
are you using as your generator, Flux?
No, I'm actually using Imogen or Imagine
Oh,
from Google, the latest one,
yeah.
4. It's way better than Flux, way better, way quicker. Um, so yeah. So any AI imagery you can get, and I also have video. I've also added video here, so you can create video. It's very expensive, but you can create any video you like.
What are you creating video on VO2?
Video 3.
VO2, wow, that is
Yeah,
expensive.
yeah, $6 a pop.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's in here. So we're gonna have to charge extra for it, but yeah, so there's many more things we can do for this as well, but this is just stage one of like being able to, just think about if you're an organization and you want to create marketing content these days, everything's the standard is elevated, and you're going to need all this
Yeah.
stuff. You're going to need quality content. You're going to need quality images. You're going to need quality video. You're going to have to manage a lot of these at scale. So, this is the future. This is the future of these platforms. You need to have this. And then so what we've done as well here is so what you can bring it all together. So you can create manually, you can create social posts, email, newsletter, articles, and other. And so you can type in whatever you want, choose a prompt from your prompt library, and then get it to create a first draft for you in terms of your content. And then you can go and edit that draft. But what
Wow.
you can also do is if you're sort of stuck on ideas, you can create a social, you can mock up some social media posts. So for instance, I've got this style cluster, I call it, where um, I've got a whole lot of content styles that I like or that from my historic posts. So this is you actually. So this is you. So it's content styles. So if I click on this, here are all my historic posts in a cluster. So you see here, these are all my posts that I've done historically that I really like and the way that the style that I've done them. And so what I call that is a cluster. It's a style cluster of posts. And then what you can do here is, okay, so social media, my cluster, I want to mock up some drafts in that style based on some notes that I've got. Okay, so
Mm.
I really like these notes here from this particular note that I had in my library, and I want to mock up 3 posts in my style. I want to mock up some drafts on that topic. Okay. I also want them to be in my brand. So that's the other thing I've got to do. So at the moment, they're an enterprise DNA brand. I actually want them to be in my personal brand. And I'll just do it again. So I guess it's maybe a little bit too technical, but maybe we'll need to make that a little bit simpler now that I'm sort of describing it to you live. But so I just go generate ideas like this.
And this is where I found, I mean, this is far more sophisticated than anything I'm using, but what I found is that kind of the AI brainstorming is really helpful. Like,
Yeah.
that it kind of just throws volume at you. And, a lot of it is not good, but in with the not good are some real gems. And so my guess is, when you generate a lot of, kind of mock social media posts in a particular style, some of them are really going to jump out as good.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah, I think you're right. Like not everything is very is good. Like I discard probably 80% of what comes out
Right.
as a draft,
Right.
and then I pick up I I guess this is not generating posts for me. This is generating drafts for me.
Right.
And then
Right.
I'm going from there. So like I would go and read all the ones that I've done. And then I would say, okay, I don't like this one. Okay, delete it. I don't like this one, delete it. Okay, I like this one. Okay, so this is in this style. Now I can overlay a custom post, prompt to it. So maybe I like the style that it gave me, but maybe I want it as a list post, which I have a different prompt for. And by the way, you can also like the way we've set it up is that you can actually just like if you want to, it just gives you a lot of options. So okay, so I'll change it to this style, but I also want to change it from that content to a list post, and then I can go generate post, So it's not doing it for me. It's just giving me a whole lot of options. It's sort of like my marketing partner in every which way to create quality content, right? And not just social media, but all types of content, newsletters, articles, all that kind of stuff.
That's really clever. It's really neat. One of the things I wonder, have you got anything in there where when you reject something, do you tell it
Yeah.
why? Like you say,
No,
okay, here's why I don't like this.
no, I don't have that. That is exactly the agentic side of thing, which I think you've got to get to. Like that's what I agree. I agree. Also, where this gets more agentic is where it just comes up with these drafts for me without even me asking. Like that, I kind of walk into it and I say, maybe through voice, I say, "Hey, can you just come up with give me a few drafts on posts today?" And it just comes
Mhm.
up with it. Like I think that's where it's got to go. I think it's actually got to go
Yeah.
there and then create the imagery and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we're just not there yet, but we're gonna get this out there as it is right now. And then that's the directionally, I think that's where I've got to go. Like that's where you have to go as I'm sort of as I've been saying. There's also lots of other little things like we've got, listen to post, schedule. I've got a whole scheduling thing, so it can actually post it in a calendar for you. Um, so to think about where I've come from 9 months ago, I didn't even really know what GitHub was. Um,
Right.
to building this now, right? I have built this entirely myself with AI, entirely myself. And I have made so much progress in the last ten days. It's unbelievable with this agentic Claude code. So that's, I guess this is just proof.
When did
Like
when did you start when did you start building this?
I started building this maybe a month ago.
Amazing.
Um,
Amazing.
and but the progress has all been like I was going pretty well. I started in Lovable initially. It's very different to where it was in Lovable though, since I moved out of there. Moved on to my strategy of using an IDE. Then I was using multiple IDEs. Um, and then I'm now using Claude Code, which has been that's been the craziest lift in productivity. Craziest. Yeah.
So how do
And
you maintain the kind of look and feel? Because it definitely looks like your style and interface and kind of familiar on kind of the enterprise DNA. Not exactly, but
yeah.
you can tell that it's got some influences from that. I'm wondering kind of how do you maintain and develop that theming across your
So you,
apps?
you just have a style guide. So inside all of your code files, you have a style guide, and you build to those style rules. So the AI, you just make sure that you go anytime you just say initially, as you get going, you make sure it references that knowledge all the time. But then as I've built it out, it kind of already, like the Claude Code particularly, it understands that this is the font you want, this is the coloring you want. Like it's got that in its context.
Is it
And
CSS that you?
well, no, it's just like in terms of the styling, it's just a guide. It's just like a text file.
Oh,
It's just
okay.
a text file. You just tell it what you want, and it will go and reference
Interesting.
that in the context every time it's building something. Um, It does deviate sometimes. And then you just say, hey, you're not following the style guide. Go reference the style guide and make sure we're using all of the colors that we're meant to be using.
Mm. And
And so,
does it actually, can you have it add to the style guide? Say,
yeah, yeah,
okay, like,
totally.
that we didn't talk about this, but add that in as a rule now.
You can manipulate any file with AI
Yeah.
when it's in your code file. Yeah. And so I've also got here. So every single post you do, we capture that post in history. So if you think about every post that's getting done, is getting logged into the database as history. And so then you can always come back and you can review, okay, what was the generated content? What was the original content? Um, so this can be a way. And then the idea is that I think this is actually what you were meaning is that, so what we do is you have all your history. You can then build your content styles based on your history. So
Mm.
you can then create a new cluster and then select all of the ones you like, and then put it in that content style. and then that can be your style that helps you generate new content based on other notes that you've saved.
So I noticed as you flash by, you had metadata and all that. Is it keeping an active tally of how the posts are doing?
No, I don't have any analytics. No, no,
Because
no.
that seems like it would also, as kind of a
Yeah,
future thing, that'd be hugely useful because to see kind of over time what
yeah,
themes are hitting, what styles are hitting.
totally. So a lot of social media scheduling tools have this already. Um, but you know why I haven't used it, Ryan? Is because every time, as you know, every time you go down that analytics route, it sucks the life out of the
Yeah,
enjoyment of
yeah,
actually creating content. So I
that's
haven't actually, I
very,
haven't,
very true.
I
Very
have not
true.
actually, I have not actually used those to any extent. But you can tell people who are on these platforms. Um, I have to. I'll just jump off this for now. But hopefully showcasing that will show
Yeah,
that nothing we're
really
saying is
impressive.
hyperbolic. Like it is true. Like this is actually actual reality. You know, when I'm saying things like I'm building the amount of like what four people are doing historically, it's like 100% true. Like it is actually
Yeah.
true. And this is
And then a
coming.
year ago, you had no idea how to do any of it.
I didn't even know what an IDE was a year ago. Like
Yeah.
I didn't even know what Visual Studio was a year ago. But now I'm fully comfortable. It's only taken me 9 months to get to this point. Um, you know, it's just crazy. It's
Yeah.
seriously crazy.
So that actually brings to mind a thing I want to raise because did you see that MIT paper about, kind of the kind of headline you saw all over was, kind of AI is making us stupid. And
Hmm.
I thought that was the dumbest paper I've ever seen. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and there were a lot of ways in which it was, kind of formally refuted, but just from an individual standpoint, I feel it could not be more distant from the truth. I mean,
Mm.
yeah, sure. If you take kind of all the productivity gains of AI and then you spend your time gained watching TikTok videos, that's probably true. But
Yeah.
the interesting thing is Peter Gostev, who is an AI expert and posts a lot on LinkedIn and is really good and worth following. He had a thing about, basically the kind of myth of productivity gains in the sense of it doesn't mean we're working less. And a lot of people responded to that. I did as well. And I said, I actually feel like I'm working more, but it's much more satisfying. And, kind of in that additional time, you learn so much, and kind of to your illustration of, kind of the crazy amount you've learned in 9 months.
Mm.
I feel like you look at that and this notion that AI is making us dumber is insane.
Oh, it's just garbage. Absolutely garbage. Every take against that the progress of AI or the benefits AI over the last 2.5 years has been absolute garbage, hasn't it? Garbage. Absolute garbage. Um, it's just not reality, and it's feeding BS to so many people who seem to actually believe it, unfortunately. Um, my other thing to that is has the calculator made us all dumber at maths? Like, no,
Right.
it is not. Like, it's just stupid, garbage, total
Yeah.
garbage.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I was saying that, I've been doing this a long time, and the last year or two has been the most I've ever learned in that period
100%.
by a wide margin.
Yeah, learning different things differently though. Like
Yeah,
I am not learning app development the traditional way. I mean, I have not
right.
written a line of code in this latest app. Like I don't write a thing. I'm orchestrating. I'm orchestrating it. Maybe the code is not perfect. I mean, if you ask my developers, they would probably say, yeah, it's not perfect. But it works, man. It works. Who like were people sitting there analyzing your DAX measures historically going, oh, not perfect. It's not best practice. Like it's just so ridiculous. If it works, it works. Um, you can always go back and upgrade things and update things and
Right,
things like
right.
that, just like you did with Power BI reports in the back in the day. You always went and back and
Sure,
optimized your
sure.
model and optimized your formulas. And I mean, back in the day when I was doing VBA code, I remember, looking at some VBA code in an organization I walked into and thought this is absolutely horrific, but they were getting the job done. So who cares? This is exactly the same thing. Anyone, I feel sorry for people who don't buy into this now. I really do. And I just I hate to be negative about LinkedIn, but I am going to be. There's just so much of that BS on LinkedIn. It's just horrific. It's horrific, and I can't stand it anymore. I actually cannot stand it. I haven't the last couple of weeks. I haven't actually looked at LinkedIn that much, other than your posts. I just don't look at it anymore because it's crazy to me that this sort of stuff is continuing to perpetuate on LinkedIn when it's just like so obvious what's going on now.
Well, I appreciate you still reading me. So,
Yeah. Well, you're
um,
actually talking about stuff that is highly relevant, right? Like, I'm still getting posts about fucking like, you know, spark lines and Power BI, like far out. The world's changing, man. Like you
yeah.
either get on or you're gonna be, you're gonna be left behind. Like it's just, I mean, I don't want to be too harsh or too negative, but like it's so obvious. It's so obvious now. Remember when I think we both sort of realized it at the same time, maybe a few months ago, where your information diet was just so crucial,
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been on that wagon ever since we had that discussion.
and like there's just so much, still so much garbage out there. There is a lot of disruption going on, but there's just like enormous opportunities to do new things and to explore new things. And to me, a lot of that stuff is accelerating. It truly is accelerating.
But
So,
I think I was right about one thing in that I do want to come back to, which is even in your feeling that it's not productive, it's not helpful. I saw some posts this week about people who said your stuff has been hugely influential to them. So it may not be a case of you getting inspiration from, but the messages you're putting out, and I think to some extent I'm putting out in this, I've had a few people say, "Hey, I I tried MCP because you were just going on and on about it, and it is
mm,
everything you said it was." And I saw some this week where people said, I am now building apps and kind of focused on becoming that full stack analyst. And I think
mm,
there were times when you felt that message didn't resonate. I think it resonates far louder than you realize. And
yeah,
just
possibly.
seeing some of those posts where it's kind of like, hey, these are people I've never seen before. And
Yeah.
you know, I got to believe there are a lot more out there. So I,
You
I
know,
hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but I wouldn't want you to lose sight of the fact that there's a lot of value in things you may not be seeing.
yeah, no, look, hopefully there is. I mean, hopefully, I guess the one additional thing I want to add to that is that historically, when I had an impact online, and this is the hard thing for me personally at the moment. Historically, when we had an impact online or we influenced people online, there was actually a financial reward for that. Because I was able to, we were able to sell them training and courses, which made sense, right? Because you were influencing them, but they still had to learn how to do it. But what's happening now is that we're influencing, but there really isn't a training opportunity on all this. Like there really isn't a learning opportunity from what I'm seeing. And it's not actually reflecting in anything financial for me personally, which,
Right.
um,
Right.
you know, maybe some would say, okay, well, you're on social media, most people are on social media for some sort of financial reward. Maybe not everyone, but a lot of people are, by the way. Like that is the reality. That's the
Sure.
reality. That's how these places get popular, is because there's actually some sort of like incentive to actually posting. But at the moment, like if I'm being like real and realistic about it, it just doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel like there is actually much incentive to like maybe that will change, and that's why it's hard to like completely walk away. But at the moment, it's not being reflected in any way in some sort of financial reward for all the influence or the it's mainly, yeah, I don't know. It's hard.
Well,
I mean, we are talking about things that are disrupting historically what we've created training on. So, that also is an interesting dynamic as well.
that's what I was gonna say is your message in some sense is you don't have to pay people to do this stuff. You can do it yourself, you know,
Yeah.
and that
Yep.
is, that is both empowering and not very helpful to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I know. I know. I wonder, like, yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. Like, it's also why a social media platform, if you think about it, is there's always a lot of stakeholders. There's always a lot of, and you've got to sort of match up all the stakeholders and continue to incentivize them enough for them to keep coming back and to keep them paying. And I feel like LinkedIn's been in a very difficult situation in the last like couple of years. One, because Microsoft's a massive stakeholder, right? So that's just one. Also, I think a lot of the financial incentives to actually post and to actually be there are just not actually as good as they once were. Like it just feels that way. It certainly does for me. And I bet you it's the same for consultants and all these. Because if you're a Power BI consultant and you know that AI can do a lot of the stuff that you used to do, you used to add value. Like, it's the same sort of thing. It's exactly the same thing. And also they've been having to deal with AI posts and things like that, like engagement posts. So it's very tough to be a social media platform. I mean, they're doing very well, but there's a lot of stakeholders that they've got to keep happy, and it's been a very difficult time to do that.
Well, it's really interesting because, there were a bunch of people who were really salty this week about the fact that LinkedIn had sent out these content kits to like Instagram and TikTok,
Yep.
influencers, and these people who are like, "Hey, I've been creating content here for years and I didn't get anything," and I don't, it's like, you know, I want nothing to do with anything that is related to the I word. But there are people who I think aspire to that kind of thing, and it is true that it's like LinkedIn is definitely looking outward, for
Yep.
that, not inward. And I was thinking
Mm.
about YouTube in the sense YouTube is one of those brilliant things I've ever seen in the sense that you have people who are paying to advertise on YouTube, and then you're having people like me who pay not to see ads on YouTube,
Yes.
and they win from both sides.
I know. I know. I think I'll tell you something funny about LinkedIn as well that I saw the other day. So I also have been seeing a lot of posts about people complaining about AI posts and things like that. And then I was scrolling through my LinkedIn the other day, and then LinkedIn Learning had a how to create social media content with ChatGPT was one of the courses that they were selling. And I thought, wow, that far out there, there's some irony there.
And it was funny because I also was writing posts last week about how to crowd all that junk out of your feed.
I know,
Um,
but it's kind of ironic when it's honestly, big tech are they're add a lot of value, but also they're enormously hypocritical in so many different ways.
oh,
Like Google especially, like for um, when AI came out, they introduced all these AI policies, no AI content, like it was like very anti-AI. And then 6 months later, they're putting AI at the top of every search engine from themselves
right, right.
and totally stuffing everyone else on the internet. So it's like
Well, the difference is now their AI is good.
yeah, now, but AI is not good from anyone else except Google. Like like these guys are, there's hypocritical stuff going on everywhere. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I sometimes reflect and I say, we made a kind of a living off Microsoft for a little bit for a while there, right? But honestly, I think in general we should be supporting a bit of disruption here. Like big tech have got way too big, in my opinion. Like when you get too big, you get kind of in extraction mode, and sometimes I feel like there should be a massive encouragement of like more disruption and supporting different brands, different people coming, different businesses coming up. Um, Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I
there's, I
believe
think,
that too. It's like, four or five companies running everything now. And,
yeah,
I wrote one, last week about, how to stay unattached to any of those, how not to get sucked into, a
mm,
platform or a brand, how to kind of
yeah,
keep your own agency and, keep your freedom in a sense of not being tied to anybody's platform. And for me, that's like a huge thing is I don't
mm,
want to get tied to Google or, to OpenAI or, or anybody, and I think,
mm.
the kind of staying flexible is, that's kind of my fight. And their fight is everybody's trying to anchor you down to, to what they're doing. So it's an interesting battle.
It totally is, and I think like Microsoft have been notorious at this in the enterprise software market, right? They just want you in your
Sure,
ecosystem.
sure.
But the reality is, like, let's just look at one example: ERP software. Okay, so yeah, I did a deep research on ERP software. Actually, that's one thing I did do in the recent month. ERPs are notorious, absolutely notorious for getting you in and then charging you obscene amounts of money for essentially a database and a simple front end, right?
Mm,
And I think the reason why they cost so much because then everyone wants customizations and all this kind of stuff. Um, but in this new age, I think that's you just want to avoid getting into that sort of thing, like anything. Like you want to avoid that, right? Because creating a database is absolutely simple now. It's so
yeah.
simple. And then creating a front end, your own custom front end is simple too now. And so, and these a lot of these companies charge on a per seat basis. They charge and like ridiculously and annual like they always increase their prices every year. You're in these things. And then once you have AI agents running over these things, like, you're probably actually like I was sort of weighing it up. I was thinking, okay, if you had Dynamics 365, for example, and and it's just a database and a front end. If you were to recreate that in Superbase, for example, right now, you could probably do it for 90% less,
Yeah.
90% less of what it costs you to have Dynamics 365 and just using
Well, when
AI
I was in the
to
government,
do it
we
this.
had Dynamics, and it's hugely expensive, and it's a lot to maintain, and you've got the finance and you've got the HR, components, and
It's just a
you're
database,
right.
right? It's just a database.
Yeah.
The database, but you could actually make a way better ERP these days, like quite quickly, I think. You would set up the database, but then you could customize your own front end websites very quickly, even with Lovable.
Yeah.
You could probably do it like good enough, to get going. And then you could maybe get a little bit more savvy with Claude Code if you wanted to. Um, like I even think those existing systems will hold you back. Like I just think they'll hold you back compared to what you could actually build yourself or with a more agentic type workflow,
Well, I mean, I absolutely, just in the last month, being hooked, everything MCP hooked into Superbase, I am just seeing all kinds of possibilities of things I've been doing that I've never been able to do before, because I
Yeah.
didn't know the data engineering, the back end stuff at all. It was like, things like setting up, APIs, setting up authentication, never knew how to do any of that. And
No.
now yeah, it's just natural language most of it. Um,
Yeah.
to go back to one thing, kind of maybe an hour ago, you said about MCP and your experience about it needing to be easier. It's really interesting when we kind of get these opinions. It's like you work with something, you say, okay, this is amazing, but it's way too hard. Like even now. And it's
Yeah.
like having to run UV and clone somebody's GitHub, and then put the JSON code in your configure file. Anthropic again, they are on this. And have you
Mm.
seen the DXT format?
No, no, I don't know.
So the best analogy I think I have for it is it's like a Docker image. and you
Yeah.
literally you just click on it and it does everything. It it downloads the stuff, the requirements it needs. It reconfigures um, your client, and it's just beautiful. I mean, it's literally download, double click, and you're there. And it's
Yeah.
like, they are really, kind of as I was saying, kind of you want to maintain that freedom, and you know that's a nice feature they've got now in Claude, and it'll be interesting to see if others kind of adopt the DXT as a standard, because it is just
Mhm.
an easy way to connect stuff now.
Yeah, look, I'll have to go and explore. But yeah, that was the one big thing last time we chatted about was that
Yep.
it's amazing, but it's still a little bit too hard for the general person to sort of
And
connect it
sometimes
up.
it's a lot too hard. I mean, I have some that I've spent hours trying to get working, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty good with this stuff now. And I still there's some that every time I open, my client, they flash in red that it's not connected.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think the people really involved at the top of this see the power it has, but also see that it's got to get easier. And
Yeah, no,
just the
no doubt.
speed with which they're resolving that, I thought was really interesting.
Well, I mean, OpenAI must be going all out trying to figure out how to make this incredibly easy. And then as soon as they do, boom, all of a sudden it's just going to be an avalanche of new ways of doing things so quickly. Um,
Well, it's coming. I've seen it because I have a team. Do you have a Teams version of OpenAI, or you have the individual?
no, I don't know if we're teams actually. I think everyone on my team actually has individual accounts. I'll have to check. Don't know.
Because if you have access to the team one, you can actually see all the stuff that they're going to bring in. It should be any day now that they bring in the individual, but it's really well done. I mean, both the canned stuff and the custom stuff. And I think if they just link the custom to, something like this DXT, it's point and click.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's coming. It's just so much better. It's just inevitable. You know, um, the other my thoughts about I think it was last time we chatted about, how sort of enterprise SaaS is or enterprise software is getting kind of disrupted. I don't think
Mm,
software in general is not getting disrupted. Software in general is the golden age of software. But there is a segment of software that I think truly is actually getting disrupted. And it's the expensive software that gets put into enterprises, and that
right.
enterprises pay obscene amounts of money to actually use. ERP is just one example of that. There's a lot of other examples, but um, agents and MCP combined basically destroys that historic business model. I think it truly does, or it will erode it very very fast. It won't destroy it because like adoption will be slow and things like and these and these software vendors will do everything they possibly can because they're the most powerful tech firms in the world to stop it from happening. But I listened to a podcast and they had a really interesting terminology because what you can ultimately do, like a lot of I think it was the All In podcast actually. It was that silly guy Chamath. He's an idiot, but uh, like he had a good point here. Is that a lot of companies have this OpEx every single year or every single quarter of these large subscription bills for this enterprise
Mhm.
software. But what is going to happen and what is happening right now with AI agents and MCP is that you'll be able to turn that into front end CapEx and then you won't have any more OpEx anymore because you could almost rebuild these pieces of software for less than what your one annual years of subscription of the
Right.
software actually costs you. And so in a lot of cases, a lot of businesses are going to look at this and they're going to be like, why are we paying this every year when we can just build it ourselves and probably and get rid of this annual subscription? And our product's going to be more customized. It's going to be better. It's going to be integrated into these AI clients with MCP, so we can have an analytics module straight off the bat. Like that is happening already now. I think that's already happening now, and how they were sort of saying that how they were saying how that is reality right now is that the sales growth of a lot of these larger SaaS platforms has just plummeted. There's no growth.
Yeah.
There's no growth in these platforms anymore. Is because everyone's going to be moving in this direction, and you might actually start seeing negative growth from a lot of these guys. I think it was they also had this crazy stat. I think 75% of all of the ARR growth in tech, 75% in the last 6 months has come from Cursor, one
Wow.
piece of software. So something crazy like that. Because they've gone from nothing to 500 million ARR in like 18 months. And all of the growth, 75% of all of the growth was from this one company.
Wow.
Some crazy stat like that. And that just shows you, right? Like everyone's realized, wow, okay, we can just build it ourselves. So let's just like buy a Cursor subscription, stop and start winding down all of these other agreements we've got and just build it ourselves. Like it's a complete transformation in the value chain of enterprise software.
Well, it's interesting too, because MCP is, I think, already kind of undergoing a maturity. That last week there was a release of kind of the new version of MCP with kind of enhanced OAuth and some additional security, and monitoring features. And
Mm,
you could almost see it kind of morphing into this thing that can become much more enterprise friendly. It's kind of a little bit, somebody today characterizes, a little bit Wild West, and it definitely feels like that. But
mm,
you're starting to see these efforts of like Pulse MCP, kind of developing this repository, this reviewed repository, kind of like what R has with oh God, I'm blanking on the
Cran. Was it Cran?
Cran. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, exactly. And it's got standards, and it's got, kind of review that before you get into the repository. And, I think
mm,
Pulse is trying to accomplish something very similar. And so as you're seeing kind of the standard approve and the people around it kind of promoting a more enterprise friendly approach, yeah, I think the speed with which that's happening is really kind of amazing, because you think
yeah.
about for other software, kind of how long it took to really build that backing behind it. And yeah, we're still just 7 months in, and on that, it's
Yeah.
already kind of entering a maturity phase.
Yeah. Oh, because it's inevitable. It's inevitable. I think probably we agree. It's like, where's the value? Where's the value here? Um, the value right now is in the database. It's in the database layer. That's where the real value is now. That's why all the database companies have like their valuations have gone sky high because everything, a lot of software, a lot of new software, a lot is going to require is the database layer is the most important layer.
Right.
Because if you've got just connections to MCP and you've got the AI just doing a lot of the work for you, either retrieving data or inputting data, that kind of stuff. The database is the only thing that really matters in that case. Like the front end doesn't matter anywhere near as much as it once did. Um, there is a future where a lot of core software just becomes an input box or just becomes an AI voice. Like I think there is a lot of core software, like a CRM, right? In a lot of cases, if you think about what you can do within Claude now with MCP connections into a database layer, what's stopping a new age CRM just being some like simple input that you talk to, and it goes and retrieves the deals that you should be looking at. It goes and inputs the latest conversation that you had with a customer. It goes and inputs your notes. It then goes and um, does a chart for you about what potential renewals are coming up in the future. Like the, that to me feels like a very natural software interface in the future based on everything that is all the capabilities that have all sort of come together in the last 6 months.
there was a great, I love seeing these kind of domain specific examples of all this, but there's a guy I've gotten to know who is a sports performance expert. And he showed this thing he's done now with MCP where he's got all his information in a database. But then what he'll do is he'll send the MCP clients out and say, okay, like gather, I want to compare, my athlete to this guy and pull all
Mm.
his race statistics from the past like 2 years. And then he does these these complex analyses of like kind of the progression of progress in terms of increase in speed or and I just thought what a great example, because it gets back to that internal, external, structured, unstructured. And then what he does, I mean, I'll send you the link, but it was a great example where he sends the client out, it collects all this data, it then cleans the data, it adds it to the data set, and then runs a comparative visual dashboard along
Mm.
like 5 or 6 metrics that he has.
Yeah.
Um, and the whole thing took 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and it's a good watch. And
Think about trying to do that historically, even
yeah,
like last.
yeah,
This is what opens up when you start seeing the potential, isn't it? It's AI agents and MCP combined.
yeah.
That is next level productivity and possibility. It truly is. I mean, it's hard to even imagine, but it's you're going to see so much cool stuff in that direction.
Well, and the fact that it's available to, like individuals and small business can have capabilities that are now beyond what large corporations had, 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, to, even, I mean, even less than that, the ability to, do some of these analyses in minutes now that, would
Mm.
take, even in a large corporation would take, hours or days is,
Yeah.
is incredible.
I did glance at an interesting post by someone I'm connected to, and how they were saying how, someone did some analysis in ChatGPT and came to show it to them, in their work environment, and they were explaining how it was sort of like an identity crisis, like that's what they used to do. That was the
Right.
analysis that they used to
I
do,
saw that.
right? And I thought that was a real like it was. I think this is going on everywhere, by the way. I do. It's funny because it kind of is bringing action. It is bringing to reality what we always dreamt of with Power BI, sort of empowering the business user.
Mhm.
It is sort of actually bringing that, democratizing data analytics. It's the ultimate democratization, isn't it? But um, but yeah, I think that is gonna be it happening in a lot of different ways. Like I think that's just a new reality we're gonna see in many different ways. But I think the quicker that you just get over it and then you embrace the new is the way to do it. Is what you've got to do it. You got to do it now.
I
Uh,
agreed. Absolutely agree.
what other have you, I know we're sort of probably close to 2 hours here, but anything else interesting that you've seen or done?
Um, no, I think I'm looking at my list and we ran through all of it. The last thing I had was the DXT.
Mm,
Um, but I mean, it just continues to, the thing that's remarkable is, I've been going back and watching some of the older ones we did and older,
yeah,
being like a month ago. And
yeah,
it's just amazing how, some of the things we talked about have changed so dramatically even since then. And what you were saying about, kind of the state of the art, which was, lovable and cursor and, all that.
yeah.
And now, I'm kind of half expecting by mid-July, you're going to tell me you're using something totally different. And I may be too.
Yeah. Well, it is so interesting, isn't it? Like I went back to use Lovable on the weekend and it just felt slow. It just felt slow to me and inefficient. considering how in the last 10 days, how productive I've been using like multiple Claude Code terminals open at the same time, yeah, it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
absolutely crazy. And I think a lot of like I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 6 months you see Lovable's growth tail off because their growth has been crazy. I think they're at like 70 million ARR or 80 million or something like that, and that's all happened in 9 months. So
Yeah.
crazy growth. Like they're probably crushing it. I bet you they're making insane gross profits too. You know, like that would be that's insane. Um, because I'm paying $20 a month or something. I bet you my AI calls over the last month have been less than 50 cents actually. So like
Yeah.
their returns per individual user are insane. So they're probably making a lot of money. And I think they only have like 30 people or something in their company right now. Um, I would not be surprised if their growth tails off. Like that will be the story because if you go on Twitter, you're starting to see everyone as soon as someone hears of something better, like Claude Code, multiple Claude
Right.
Code instances, everyone just moves there very, very quickly. This is just rapidly moves over there, you know? And
Well, it kind of gets back to what we were saying is you're not tied to anybody now. You know, something better comes along,
it's a good thing,
you
right?
pull the
Yeah,
plug and you plug something else in, you know.
it's look, it's insanely tough as a business, but I think it's a good thing. It's good for the consumer, right? I think
Definitely.
you had a really good analogy last week, and I think I heard something that sort of backed it up. Is that um, like where's the value? It's hard to know where the value is in all this, isn't it? Because if you think about Excel as an example, Excel has created insane value for so many people who have used it, right? Insane, absolutely insane value for businesses. But most people are paying like $15 a month for it. You know, like
Right.
$15. It's
Right.
just so cheap. It's
And
so
like a
cheap.
billion people. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess Microsoft do very well out of it, but still, I mean, it's insanely cheap for the value that it's generating, right? And so it kind of feels, you know, this that same dynamic is going to play out. It feels in some way here. I don't know how. I don't know exactly how, but um, it's going to be insane value for so many people. But I just don't know where the actual value is for the provider of all of this.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, it's kind of like when the average, you know, data person who didn't know any of this, you know, 6 months ago, and it becomes easier and easier. I think, you know, that the thing that really strikes me is every iteration that we've seen turn,
Mm.
it becomes easier. You know,
Yeah,
things that were hard even a month ago are now much simpler.
yeah, yeah.
And you know, I think it's going to keep. You know, it seems to me that the people who have incentive to do that are going to continue to kind of polish the edges, you know, and sand the sharp, you know, the sharp points off of this to make it incredibly smooth for the people not at the, you know, at kind of the head of the curve, but you know, just the average user. And you know,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be not long before MCP is seen as one of those things that is not, you know, kind of the people at the, you know, the front of the line on AI, but just, you know, everybody. It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like spreadsheets were once, you know, kind of seen as this kind of magical thing, and now, you know, it's, you know, everybody
Love
uses
it.
them.
Oh, I totally agree with that. Like, it's just going to be if all of these guys are just going to make it one click as it should be, just like one
Yeah,
click done.
yeah.
Um, I also had the same reflection the other day. 9 months, about 8 or 9 months ago, I just wrote, you know, this simple application, and I didn't write a single line of code. It's like it's like 20,000 rows of code and I didn't write a single one. And then I'm looking at it now. I'm at like 200,000 rows now and I haven't written a single one.
Wow.
Like it's not even like a big deal anymore. It's, you know,
Yeah.
like pretty much no, like pretty much all developers aren't writing any code anymore. Like if you go on Twitter and stuff like that, like everyone's using AI to write everything, even just little adjustments in a lot of cases, you know. So, you know, that used to be a thing 6, 8 months ago. But that's not even a thing anymore. Like everyone's writing with AI code now. Everyone.
But even your AI code is getting better and better. It's kind of like I think there's nothing more humbling than posting code in public because no matter what it is and what the tools are, you're going to come back a year from now and go, "Oh my God, that was horrible." And
Yeah.
I always think about, like my DAX, my R, my M, I mean, I've got some M code out there that is just like, "Oh my God, did I really do that?" You know,
Totally.
and
Totally.
and it's like you think about now, okay, like if that pattern has been consistent, my whole career of looking
Mm.
back on the stuff I did then and going,
Mm.
oh God, nobody sees that.
Yeah.
What are we doing now that like a year from now we're going to look back and go, oh wow, that looks horrendous.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's just like no doubt. It's no doubt. I mean, what's going to look crazy and efficient in 2, 3, 4 years is creating dashboards with, really complex data models. I think,
Yeah.
I think that's going to be you're going to be crazy to be doing that in the near future. Right. Particularly when you can spin up 10 agents to go and do everything. The other issue that I have with all these for the last 6 months, there was just so much gatekeeping on AI code and all this kind of stuff. And all these developers, and there's still a lot out there. There's still a lot if you like read comments and stuff on on some LinkedIn posts. I haven't read that many over the last couple of weeks, but historically, the they have this view of perfection. They have this view of perfection around AI code, which is crazy to me. If it works, it works. And did you know? And I always thought this. I always like I don't know. I wanted to write it, but I didn't. Um, you know, do you not think if an AI can do this much now, that it's not going to be able to look over your code and go fix it up based on the style that you want? Like there is agents now. You can set up Claude code to be a particular persona, to be a code checker, to be you can set it up that way, and the AI agent will just go over all your code, suggest changes based on what you want, and then you just approve it, like every single file. So there's already ways to compensate for imperfection on the initial run of your
Right.
development, right? Um, and that's going to be the same for any like data work or like other work as well, right? Like the yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, 6 months ago, I didn't even believe AI agents were a thing. So, my view, and I think your view has certainly evolved somewhat.
Yeah,
I didn't.
I've got some posts that didn't age well.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't say it's not going to happen. I just was like unsure of the timing of it because I didn't quite see it at that time.
Yeah.
I didn't bet against it in some way happening. But it's arriving now. Like it's sort of coming in, and there'll be AI agents to basically do anything that you thought was not as optimal as you once wanted. And I think that the perfect code that everyone was waiting for is just a perfect analogy that there will be an agent to solve for that if it's not perfect, if it's not good. But you know, they're getting better in all directions. Like the first runs of code that I'm getting from Claude Code now is crazy good, crazy
Yeah.
good in a lot of
Yeah.
cases.
Well, there are more and more stories, of like for some reason O3 seems to be great at IT security and
Right.
it's continually finding vulnerabilities that the top experts are not finding. And
Yeah.
that to me just speaks to the fact that, you know, this this standard we have for AI, if it's not perfect, it's no good.
Mm.
That when it's performing at the level of the best human experts, it's the same thing. Are we now saying those experts aren't any good? No. It's like, you know, that it's a way of working together in that AI is augmenting those people, but their work is just in the same way driving you know training and that AI has to improve by training on something, and a lot of it I think is these papers, the research that's coming from human experts. I
Yeah.
mean, there's the talk of, synthetic data and all that, reinforcement learning with, no human in the loop. But I still think a lot of the increases we're seeing in some domains are because there's really good research going on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's not a no longer a solely human nor a solely AI thing.
That's also true. And the other thing that I think that so there's a lot of goings on. I don't know if you've heard this as well, but Zuckerberg has been giving insane pay packets to these people to come over to build up their ASI or whatever program. If you just step back for a second and you go, what is he must be seeing, or the people at the top of these tech firms must be seeing something pretty substantial from here to be paying that much money or to be hedging their bets with that much money for something better to come very, very soon, right? Like they don't want to be left behind. Their businesses probably depend on making sure they excel at this new wave. And he's out there paying some people tens of millions of dollars just to sign on to be part of this new. So they must be, you know, they're gonna get everything's gonna get even better, isn't it? Like there's just no way you would be spending that much money and justifying spending that much money unless you knew that there was a 10x return, there was a 10x improvement probably coming, to all AI systems. Also, another anecdote is Ilya Sutskever for raising $32 billion at a valuation of $32 billion without any product. Like
No product. Yeah.
no product, right? But okay, so that kind of sounds silly, but what are all the people at the top of the food chain believing to be able to fund at that sort of valuation? There must be
Yeah.
something there, right? There must be something there that is saying that there is far more to go. Look, maybe there's some hedging of bets there, maybe there's some other things, but if you just step back and just, you know, there's people in that room who know more than us, that are seeing more than us. They must be seeing something that is going to produce massive returns from that investment. It's even ChatGPT, right? Like ChatGPT was valued at 300 billion, $50 billion round. So, you
Yeah.
know, they're seeing something. They're seeing something. They're seeing these systems get better. And one of the podcasts I listened to this morning was the feeling is that they're seeing that AI can improve these systems itself. That's what they're seeing. It's not like that's how they're getting to this superhuman level of intelligence, like better than what they are now. And that's what the kind of bet is. That's kind of like if you were to just put a theme across it. The theme of these bets is that they've realized that AI can self-improve and that improvement is just going to get better and better and better and better and better. And so that's the thematic bet that a lot of this big money is going towards, which is quite fascinating.
I just like the fact that nerds are now making NBA money.
Totally, yeah. Totally. It's crazy. I mean, who knows what to believe? $100 million sign-on
Yeah.
bonus is a bit
Yeah.
ridiculous. But I mean, Zuckerberg has historically made great bets. Historically, some terrible, but like some incredibly good, right? Like WhatsApp was
Yeah.
seen as insane at the time. Amazing bet. Um, you can't bet against these guys. And if you think about these big guys, right? Like so these big tech, they're all worth over $1 trillion, right? Them spending $1 billion to hedge their bets, or maybe even more than that. I think they bought a company for 17 billion or something. Like even if you're spending $20 billion, $20 billion
Oh
as a
yeah, the scale AI
yeah, yeah.
purchases,
Even if you're
14 or
spending
17. Yeah.
10, 20 billion, 30 billion or something. I mean, your business is worth one, like that's not even 10% of your what no, is that less? It's not even like 1%. Not even 1% of like your business value on hedging yourself against what could be the most transformational technology of our generation. Like, these bets make a lot of sense. They actually do, even though the numbers sound unreal.
The numbers sound crazy. Yeah.
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 Do you wanna round off?
Yeah, yeah. It's been great. Yeah, time always flies, and
Mm.
it's just it's a great. I love the rhythm of these in the sense, of kind of doing them at regular intervals, because
Yeah.
it's just it for me it's a really good yardstick of going back and saying, okay, it's equal intervals between each conversation and seeing how much changes.
Yeah.
That is something that I just can't get over is how quickly this is all moving. And it's just it's a fun marker, to say, okay, what did you see as the big stuff the last 2 weeks? And
Mm.
yeah, I really enjoy this.
Yeah, no, look, I absolutely do as well. I definitely am struggling on the the evolution of the business front. That is
Yeah,
definitely not smooth sailing for sure. So it's this is almost like a real-time yardstick around managing managing that as well. But there it's been good to sort of document the opportunities that we're seeing and then trying to actually take advantage of them, I think. Like if I haven't listened to maybe some of our first ones, but I bet you I probably was like this huge opportunity in apps and things like that. And now I'm sort of got to a point where I'm actually like delivering high quality stuff like in that area. So it's kind of like a good document got we're documenting each sort of step there, and we're about to release some pretty substantial pieces of software
yeah.
out, So
It's looking good. Stuff's looking really good.
yeah, this is just one of them actually. Like I've got two others that we're working really hard on behind the scenes as well that we're going to release shortly too. Um,
It will be interesting to go back after a year and look back at, because a year is just it feels like, 7 years in dog years, It's
mm,
a year is a long time, and it'll be interesting to see kind of how on point some things were and how silly some things now look.
yeah. Look, I think we're pretty on point if I was to be a critic. I think we have been. And I think we continue to be. Anyone who's bet against the progress of AI in the last 2.5 years has looked incredibly stupid.
Yeah,
There's no doubt about it. So I just don't think you can bet against anything at this point. I think you've got to expect some continued exponential change. You know, yeah. So there'll be a lot of permutations because of that. Hard to know
yeah.
every single one, but there's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot.